Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Yes, I've been hearing that since last night, and messages on my phone, and everybody's talking about a Happy New Year, is it? Hello, and welcome to Manifesting Napoleon Hill. My name is Beverly Fells Jones, and I am the Silver Fox of Consciousness, and I am here to say Happy New Year. Today we're going to talk about those things that we may not have done and the things that we have done, and how can we plan out 2020. This is a new decade, and you know, when I think about it, it's no big deal. It's another year. It just started with an O. It's not any day any different from any other day. You have the same amount of time. You have the same ideas in your head that you've always had, and you're still trying to figure out how you're going to change your life. Or if you're always living that life that you want, then how can you make it better? I think that's why you're here. So today, we're going to talk about planning a little bit of this year, if you haven't done it already, and if you've already thought about the thing that you want to accomplish this year, then we're going to talk about some ways or the formula that Napoleon Hill created that will help you get that done. So let's get started. I love my coffee in the morning, so it's still too hot. But I realize that my throat is a little rusty or whatever, and it happens sometimes when I'm on camera for some strange reason. It might be because I'm not breathing correctly, or I might just be a little unsure about just about what I'm going to talk about, but I know what I'm going to talk about today. But I need to let that coffee cool off. So I met with my favorite friend, Janet, and we exchanged things, but we don't exchange gifts like a lot of people do. And in one of my podcasts, I talked about, what to give as a gift. And I give personal gifts of things that I made. So this year I made pineapple vinegar for the second year. And this year I made a thing called a wine out of tea. So she sent me a text, and I called it Mustang Tea. Wild Mustang Texas Tea. Let me go get my phone here. I just want to share this with you before I get started, but I put them in candy jars that had handles on them, but it was a little strong, so the recommendation was to pour it in a glass over ice. So she said amazing Texas tea instead of wild Mustang tea, LOL. And I also put a shot of vodka in it to give it a kick. And she said vodka gives it the Texas kick. So that was that. But that's what I gave her. Well, she is spiritual. So if any of you were ever wondering why I am the Silver Fox of Consciousness, it's because I deal with your mind and the universe and how things work and serendipity and asking for you what you want and fully expect it to show up. So she told me she was in the bookstore and she was trying to think, because she loves to give me books, and she was trying to think of a book that I would really appreciate. So she went into the meditative state, and I've talked about this on my podcast and on here on YouTube, about going into a meditative state, fully relaxed, and asking for what you want. And so she was in the store, she went into the meditative state, and no, it wasn't like, once you start doing the meditations and you start going into the meditative state with the intention of asking, then you can do it as quickly as asking the question. You can lower your brain waves into the, what I call the anteroom of God, and ask for what you want. And she did that. And she said, so I asked for the perfect book, something that Beverly would really, honestly love to have. And she said, she walked around. She said she didn't walk around that long. She looked down, and this is what she found. The name of the book is I've Decided to Live 120 Years. And you may not realize this, but that I have decided I'm going to live 125 years. Healthy, 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 dead. So I'm looking at my years as being healthy, able to talk and do and get around and move. And I've got some work to do right now because I haven't really been working out like I should. I work in my yard, my garden, but not to any strength. So part of my program this year is that I'm going to increase my walking. I don't have my gear fit on right now, but I want to increase my walking and hit 6,000 minimum steps a day, but I want to get to 10,000. I want to be lifting more weights and get more strength in my legs and my arms. So that's one of my intentions for the year. And I was reading an article about how rich people get up really early in the morning. And there's some rich people who don't get up early in the morning, but they stay up late at night. Some people are morning people, some are late. It depends on your business. If you're a stockbroker or you're in a business that you need to talk to people early in the morning, or you need to talk to people, overseas, you may be up late, you may be up early. It depends on what you do. For me, I can get up late, but I go to bed late because of what I do. So it all depends on you in getting work done. But one of the things in here that Ilke Lee said, and it made a lot of sense to me. He said, how much longer are you going to live? He said, so there's a calculation on your age, and you multiply your current age by 0.7. Only then, it's claimed, do you get the age you actually feel, physically and mentally. Because these days, we live much more youthfully than previous generations. And I truly believe that, because my grandparents at 60, 65, they weren't like me or like a lot of my friends. They were just like old. Anyway, so calculating age this way, a 50-year-old is 35, a 60-year-old is 42, a 70-year-old is 49, and what about a 120-year-old? 84. So, most of the time, a long time ago, the average lifespan was like 40-some years old. When they first said that Germany was the first to have a pension for its workers, and it was set at 65 because most people didn't make it to 65. And nowhere in the world really they didn't start raising the retirement age because of the, as were able to live longer. So, anyway, but he goes on to say, so I looked at this and he talked about people who live a long time set a goal. But, most older people and people when they get like in their 40s and 50s, they set goals that are short term, a few years, not far out in the future. He said, and that's what has people start to age, is they don't set goals far away. So if I hadn't decided to live to 125, then, I would be planning for the next 6 months, or, yeah, I'm taking a trip. I want to go overseas next year. I want to take a cruise in 21, but I'm not looking at 2046 when I'm 100 years old, right? People don't make those plans. But if I'm truly wanting to live to 125 and I want to be productive and I want to get things done and I want to leave a legacy, then I've got to plan 5, 10, 15, 20 years out. And when I think about that, I go, I didn't do that as a teenager. I didn't think about it. It was like, let me get out of high school. Oh, I want to go to college. What do I want to do in a year or two? I did plan 5, 10 years out when I made the plan that we would buy our first house, live in that 5 years, fix it up, sell it, take the money from it, buy the next larger house, 5 years. So I had that kind of plan until we got to our retirement age. And then we would sell the big, massive house and downsize to a small house and be able to take the money from that house and invest it into our future. Well, it didn't actually turn out that way because we got divorced. And I took my money and invested it in my current house, which I don't plan to sell. It's small enough, it's the right size, I'm good. But I also planned by saving, as I've talked about in other videos. So I need to give you the video on presents, and I need to give you the video on saving. So I'll try to put those on the end, the links at the end. I'll try to remember to do that. So what's that got to do with all of this? So we're talking about your intention for this year. But we also need to think about your intention for next year and for the next 5 years, especially if you're a younger person, you're in your 20s or in your 30s or even your 40s. In your 30s and 40s, you need to be planning for your possible retirement or your semi-retirement. So me, I'm semi-retired. So you need to plan for that. You want to know what it's going to look like. So a lot of times I reread books, and of course it's Napoleon Hill. So this is Napoleon Hill, Outwitting the Devil. And as you see, I've got a lot of little marks where there are things, and just like some of my other books, I've got highlighting in the book. That's why I love my books for that. But this is what I want to read to you. Above everything else, get this fact clearly fixed in your mind that your other self, now your other self is your subconscious, that your other self will not do your work for you. And we know that. Your subconscious leads you, guides you, propels you, drives you, right? But it can't do the work for you. Your conscious mind has to do that. It will only guide you intelligently in achieving for yourself the objects of your desires. And will you be guided by faith or by fear? Will you allow fear to overtake what your desires are? So going back to the Think and Grow Rich book, chapter 2 is where we look at what it is we want to accomplish. What do we desire? Now, chapter 2 and the way it's set up really is set up for one item, but you can do multiples. You can do, what do you want to accomplish in your business or your job in the next 3 to 6 months? That's what I work on when we do the Think and Grow Rich Masterclass. We concentrate on what's in 3 to 6 months. And in that chapter 2, he has some steps for you. In fact, he's laid them out. And in the workbook, I've also laid them out so that you can actually write them out. Most of the time, you can't write it out on the book, or if your book is an ebook, you can't write it in a book. But hopefully you have a notebook that you are using as you go through the Think and Grow Rich book. Now, some of you just read it and you go on, but that's not what that book is designed for. So the procedure to create what you want using a well-defined affirmation. So Napoleon Hill believed in the subconscious mind. He believed that you needed to get this desire so deep inside you that nothing would stop you, and that your subconscious mind would be on board to the point that it would not let you not do what you need to do. That desire has to be really strong within you. It can't be willy-nilly. You can't say, well, I'm going to be a millionaire. Okay. How are you going to do that? What are you going to do in order to become a millionaire? So, number one, the exact amount of money I desire. So if it's $1 million, when? Right? So this is the exact amount of money I desire is a number per what? So, do you want to make $10,000 in a year? Some of you in your business and you're working part-time, then $10,000 in a year might be okay. Better make it 12 so you can make at least $1,000 a month. Or the exact amount of money I desire is $10,000 a month. Some of you hear that and it's like, I don't know if I can get there. I'm making minimum wage, or I'm just making $12 an hour, or I'm only making $1,600 a month. You want me to get to $10,000? No. What I want you to do is pick a number that you feel comfortable with, but it does cause you to tighten up. So let's say you're making $2,000 a month. And no, yes, I deliberately picked a low number. So many people pick a high number, but in reality, 40-some% of this country is at the poverty level. We're just above it, right? So if I'm talking to you, then I want to be in your space. If you're making $5,000 a month, or you're already making $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 a month, then yes, you can up your number. But let's start here, $2,000 a month. Can you see yourself doubling it, going from $2,000 a month to $4,000 a month? Or those of you that are $5,000 a month, and you see yourself doubling it and going to $10,000. How do you feel inside, right here? You know, where your gut? How do you feel when is it? Or did you take a deep breath? If you did that, but it was really tight, back off. All right, so 2 to 4. Let's go 2 to 3,000 a month. You may think, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but that's okay. Just, if you're at 5, go to 75, 57, what is it? $7,500 a month, right? Just have it. and see how that feels inside. And you'll still feel some tension, but that's okay. So, the exact amount of money I desire, I'm going to use $10,000. The exact amount of money I desire is $10,000 per month or more. You always say in your mind, or more. Okay? That's what you want to bring in. And you don't know how or what way you're going to bring it in, but you're going to bring it in. In return, so step number 2, in return, I will give, right? For me, I will give the Think and Grow Rich Masterclass. I will do Slam Your Exam trainings. I will do one-on-ones. I will speak. I will go to associations and colleges. I will spread my message and get paid, right? And in my notebook, there's a lot of room in order to write out what you want to do. So what is your product or service? If you're on the job, how are you going to get that promotion if you're looking for a promotion or, getting more money, the raise? What are you going to do to get that? Now, Mr. Hill recommends you give a date. I used to fight that give a date thing. But I started using it. I realized, like when I was manifesting my truck, I was kind of willy-nilly. I didn't need it. I didn't want it. Until finally, I want this before I take my trip. I want this before I go on my trip. And I got it before I took my trip to Grand Lake up in Oklahoma that year. So I will receive this money on such and such a date. So make it at a reasonable amount of time. So if you know that, let's say, promotion is going to take you 8 to 12 months in order to do the things and get the training and look for the promotion or the new job, then put a 12-month date on it. If it's something that you're about to graduate from some kind of training and you know you can get some kind of job, yes. If it's something you need to do, in order to generate that income, like I've got to go out and meet people and talk and do my YouTube videos and go to networking events, then I'm going to put a certain date on that to make that amount of money. Okay, so a reasonable date. Not something that, don't expect, to double your income in 24 hours, so to speak. The plan I will implement immediately to achieve this is, so what is your first steps? And I put in here, use extra paper if needed. If you've got a full plan that you want to do, then that's what we want to schedule. Right? Here's what I need to do. If you need to go to school, if you need to impress your boss, if you need to write more letters or do more copy or get online more, whatever it is, that's what you need. And here's what I add to this. Okay, number 5. I see and feel myself receiving this money, achieving my goal. So $10,000 a month. This is what I'm offering. This is the date that I want to do it by, and this is the plan this is what I plan to implement in order to get it done. Now, I have to see and feel myself as accomplishing the goal. So this is what I added. What does it look like as you achieve this goal? Who is with you? What will you do to celebrate? How will you feel? Just pick one thing that will allow you to do that. You got to construct an event which you believe you will encounter following the reaching of your goal. And in this, Mr. Hill tells you to write out an affirmation with all of this information. Write out an affirmation that says the amount of money, what you will do, the date, and what you plan to do it, and visualize that and say that every day. And in my class, I added an additional meditation that will work for you, that will get that information inside of your subconscious mind to put it so that it will go to work for you. So think about that goal. Also, I talked about a few videos ago about going through chapter 7 and evaluating yourself. If you haven't done that yet, if you didn't do that as part of your year-end process, I recommend that you go through evaluating yourself, which will help you evaluate what your year was and what you've done over the year. And it will call you out. It will call out what you haven't done. It will call out what you need to do. It will call out what you've accomplished. And you may feel good after going through all those questions, or you may feel, oh my goodness, I really didn't do it. I really didn't do what I needed to do. So, Happy New Year. Get at least 1 or 2 things that you want to accomplish this year, whether it's a money accomplishment, travel accomplishment, relationship accomplishment, and follow the steps for this particular setting. I know some of you will probably go to some seminars this year that are goal-setting seminars, and I've been through them multiple times in my corporate career, but nobody ever had me read in all my corporate career, and that's surprising. Nobody really said, Bev, you got to read Think and Grow Rich. I had read it. I don't remember how I wound up having the book, and I read it. And I read Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice, and I've got the book of Think and Grow Rich, A Woman's Choice. But nobody said study it. I read it. I did do some of the goal setting, but I didn't really understand the impact that studying, and especially studying with someone. So if you want to know how my master class started, my friend Jan said to me, Bev, let's go through Think and Grow Rich. And we met once a week and went through each chapter. And we learned quite a bit. And as I was learning each chapter, I was writing notes and doing that, and I'm going, oh my goodness. I said, how many people know this? And then adding on what I already knew, and I wound up writing a whole workbook. That's how the master class came about, by studying with someone else. And then I did the master class, and then we learned more things. I added more stuff to the workbook, and it just expands itself. And it will expand you. And people who have taken the class, they have their goals. One woman, she said, I can't come to class, I'm so busy. But I recorded them so she could get the recording of each one of the classes and had the opportunity to speak to me on a regular basis. But after I think it was the 8th week, she got really busy. So you're welcome to join it. It's in the notes. In the description is a link to all my trainings and my classes, and I need to update the date on, I'm updating the date on the Think and Grow Rich Masterclass, but you are free to join me, and I would love to see you there. So, if you like this video, please hit the thumbs up. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe, hit the bell. It's really appreciated. When you hit the thumbs up, I just realized that Google will recommend this video to other people. Share the video to those that you know who are working to improve themselves, and they are maybe stuck, or the things they're doing aren't working exactly the way they want to, share it. I'd appreciate that. So Happy New Year, and I'll see you in the next video.